So, Luis, thank you so much for being here. I know you were born in Venezuela, and you know what it is like living under communism. So, and we are the Chinese people who are taking down the world's largest ever communist dictatorship. So, what is your reaction after hearing about our story?
But I think most people don't understand that the Chinese Communist Party's threat is to the entire world and every democracy. Like, they have an intention to erode democratic confidence. So at least in the case of Venezuela, we know that the Chinese Communist Party has sold anti-protest equipment to the government to repress our people, has sold also surveillance technology to put cameras on our cities. And they're not doing that not only in Venezuela, but they're doing that in most of Latin America. So you'd think that, for example, the United States would be the main partner for Latin American countries because we're in the same region. And it turns out that no, it's China who's the largest economic partner of all of South America and Central America. And they've used that to influence politics in our region. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to also meet with you and with your group, because the Chinese Communist Party threat is not only for the Chinese people. It's not only what we saw recently in the last few years in Hong Kong. It's actually the entire world. And we were talking earlier about the One Belt, One Road initiative, you know? And the Chinese Communist Party has been really good at telling the world that they're doing good for them. And turns out that they're doing things for themselves, building airports, building ports and highways, not necessarily transport goods and merchandise, but to eventually have military bases all over the world to deploy their forces.
So now, you know, we have a leader. His name is Mr. Mao Guo. He started this new Chinese whistleblower movement 5 years ago, and he founded the new Federal State of China back in 2020, and he took great risk upon himself. Like, he's up against the world's largest communist dictatorship, and now he's followed by not only 500 million Chinese people, but also people like you, all the way from Venezuela, from, you know, people from all walks of life, from every part of this world. So why do you think that people from around the world should gather together to take down the Chinese Communist Party?
Well, at least nowadays, the world order is based on a rules-based world order. So we used to have, for example, the UN, where people would debate, and they would establish rules for how international relationships are supposed to be conducted. But the Chinese Communist Party has been eroding international institutions through, you know, bribery, through corruption, through economic cooperation that's actually used to make governments align themselves with the Chinese Communist Party. So why is it a threat for the entire world? You know, something as simple as TikTok that we've seen recently on here in the American media, how the Chinese Communist Party, through their control of state-owned enterprises in China, have been, well, not necessarily stealing, but have been taking away data, consumer data, from American citizens, from citizens in Europe, from citizens in Latin America, to learn their behavior and influence their opinion. So it's something that we need to have our eye on and be very alert, defending freedom, because the truth is the Chinese Communist Party does not have freedom or liberty as something important to them. It's actually control and totalitarian authority.
So now my next question is, do you think that the U.S. government and the government in Venezuela, in Peru, and government from around the world should stop recognizing the CCP as the legitimate representation of the 1.4 billion Chinese people? And should they recognize the new Federal State of China, which represents the true hopes and dreams of all the freedom-loving Chinese people, as a sovereign nation on the face of the earth?
I think that one of the perverse things of the Chinese Communist Party is that, you know, you could see the White House constantly talk about the threat from Beijing. You can see the European Council and the European Commission talk about the threat coming from Beijing and the CCP. But the economic ties that the West has with China are so large that it enables them to actually cut ties, or, as you're saying, unrecognize Xi Jinping's authority over 1.5 billion people in the world.